Hello, welcome. It's Frances here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing, and also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So this video is going to be a book review. I don't often do book reviews, largely because they are, well, at least for me, rather time consuming. But I've done a second read of this book, and I just thought I would offer my 2 cents worth. The book is Mother, Ecstasy, Transformation, and the Great Goddess by Levi Rowland. As you can see, I've got various tabs on the side of points that have been raised that I found of interest. So let me begin with a disclaimer, even though I really don't like doing disclaimers, but in this case, I feel that maybe I should, because I know Levi. Well, I sort of know him. I followed the show that he does with Brian Kane and Ali Barnes called Covendom. I actually have his first book, The Art Cosmic, which is on traditional astrology. We are initiates of the same tradition of witchcraft, although from different lines. And I've even had the pleasure of meeting him as well, although rather briefly. So when Mother came out, and it is a recent release, I was rather excited. I also had a bit of an idea or an expectation of and for this book, not to mention his overall approach to the subject. And all I can say is that he lived up to my expectations and more, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video. So Levi's approach to the Great Goddess, to Mother, is one of devotion. And this is something that tends to be missing from a lot of modern witchcraft streams these days, and also in other aspects of the wider spiritual community, especially when it comes to the goddess or divinity, where they seem to be archetypes, sort of still very distant from us, not connected on a more intimate level. And this is what this book expresses: a true devotion to the goddess, the great goddess, and what it feels like, what it entails, what it means. So unlike many other books on the divine feminine, on the goddess spirituality even, and I've got a whole stack of them in my library because I've been walking this path since the late 80s, early 90s. What makes this book unique, and there are a number of reasons for it, is that it's also written from a man's point of view. I know another friend of mine or acquaintance of mine has also written a book a few years ago on the goddess. So this is written from a male's point of view, a priest. And that too, especially in this day and age, is also a unique factor of this book. Although Levi queries the vitriol that has been leveled against goddess worship in lacking sort of historical accuracy, especially because what comes to light is there is a knowing, a feeling, a sensing of the divine. And these attributes anyway are feminine. By comparison to the hard, cold facts, academics want the proof, which are all masculine attributes. So he reminds us of that. But having said that there is a lack of fact, he does actually write from a place of fact, historical fact, personal experience. And also what I liked about this book is the religious and spiritual comparison, especially for us in the West who are not actually used to a goddess or a feminine divine. So in this comparison, there's a deep dive, almost a dismissing in some aspects of a number of the half-truths that have found their way into how the goddess is perceived, stemming from, we say, the rise of the goddess movement, the women's spirituality movement from the late 70s. He doesn't overly criticize them. He just sort of like amends or acknowledges the poetic license, shall we say, that had been taken at that stage, and instead of being built upon it, people have just sort of like turned the half-truths or the poetic license into fact. So what he does in this book is introduce the reader to the concept of goddess theology, showing what it actually means to be a devotee, again, from a more accurate, from a more historical perspective, drawing upon knowledge of other mystery cults all around the world, and even using other traditions, in particular, say, Shaktism, as an example, as a comparison to help guide us in the West to the points that he is making. Because if you think about it, we in the West, we've had 2,000-3,000 years of patriarchal focus, aspects, layering. So we have actually sort of, this is how we see our world, through this patriarchal lens, whether we are aware of it or not. Unlike aspects or traditions in the East, where they have never lost that connection with the Great Mother. So the goddess that Levi reintroduces us to in this book is actually more than a Jesus in a dress figure, shall I say, and that terminology was used back in the late 90s, early 2000s by someone I knew at the time, when we were listening to people describe the goddess or women's spirituality at that stage. And a lot has happened and emerged and evolved since then. Levi writes about the great goddess. He writes about the creatrix of all, the mother who birthed the cosmos and all that resides within it, including our own selves. So this sort of enforces or enhances our interconnectedness, as above, so below, as within, so without. And he also reminds us that it is this mother who will be the one to greet us at the end of our days, regardless of what spiritual or religious path we have walked, regardless of what direction we have taken, or even rejection of her. She will be there waiting for us. And this is something probably in the West that's hard to get our heads around, because we're so used, especially being raised in a Christian-orientated society or based society, of God, or in the Orthodox religions, we either have to convert or we are eternally damned. But having said that, this goddess is no Barbie doll. She's no just or sugar and spice. While she may be the queen of heaven, she is also the queen of hell. This is because in the truest sense of things, the goddess mother is all things. And as such, Levi encourages those who call upon her aid to do so from a more sort of internal or personal transformational perspective, as opposed to the barrage of wishful manifestation pleads or even demands that we see on our social media feeds. Now, in the book, there are practices, there are poetry, of devotional invocations that take the reader, whether you're a modern witch, a moon manifester, a goddess worshipper, or merely curious, to a place where spells and the constant need to acquire stuff cannot. There is no lip service to patriarchal disguise when it comes to seeking to gain ecstasy in connecting with Mother. There is no sleight of hand to gain power over or to extract money from others. That is not what it means to actually be a devotee of Mother. To be a devotee of Mother is one of service. And in fact, Levi offers advice as to what he classifies as some green and red flags found within various spiritual communities that the reader is invited to take on board. And he doesn't shy away from the darkness that the Mother brings. He's brutally honest, opening up and sharing a number of rather poignant memories from his own spiritual journey to his coming home to Mother. So in closing, I would like to share a prayer from his book that has been adopted from the Offeric hymns. Mother of gods and mortals, from whom earth and sky are born, the winds of creation and the spreading sea both come from you. Come in your blessings and attend to our holy work. Bring the abundance of your glories and drive out all which ails us. To the ends of the earth, you are worshipped and adored. So that's Mother. Ecstasy, Transformation, and the Great Goddess by Levi Rowland. It is published by Warlock Press. I think it's Warlock Press. It came out last year, 2023. And if you are seeking a deeper connection with the Divine Feminine, one that will transform you, take you to a completely new level, then if it's worth anything, my 2 cents worth is have a read this book. So I hope you have found that of interest. Please put comments below. I will also share below the IBN number and other details about this book. Blessings.